Hey everybody, welcome to All Stars. I'm Sal. It's Joshua Williamson time, baby. Or as I've titled this episode, it's just on the internal, no one will see this, but it says Josh and Me. And I was
Yeah.
like, what a fun name for a show. I'm not going to do that. I remember we were talking about like names for the show way back in the day, and you were like, please don't call this show Josh and Around.
Oh, dude, yes. Oh my god.
That was
I
like,
remember that, and I was
first
like,
note, you were
"Please
like,
don't,
don't.
please don't do that to me." Yeah, let's just.
Yeah,
We're gonna talk about comics. We're not really talking about me, even though
right,
it is. We
exactly.
talk about me a lot, but it's only because I want to do this, every month. Which, dude, is so crazy. Like, I before we started, I had to like double check and go through the ComicPop page on YouTube to be like, when did he and I talk about? Because you and I will talk,
But
but
it
when you
feels like it's been a
word
while.
last. So I was like, when was it? What was it? And it was before New York Comic Con.
Yeah,
And I saw you at New York Comic Con. We hung out a bunch, but I
we
didn't like.
did.
We had one good day. We were able to go do a bunch of stuff, and I saw you throughout. You saw
Yep,
me on the street when I was walking with Rosenberg.
that's
And
right. Yeah,
we
we
were
were
worried
having.
I wasn't wearing a jacket.
Yeah, because it was freezing. It was like raining and cold, and you had like a nice like thin fabriced polo shirt on, and I'm like, my dude, I'm gonna get on in a car. Do you want
Well,
like
because
a
I
coat?
messed up. Because you know how you get into the convention center, and all of a sudden you're like, God damn it! Like it's funny when you get there in the
Right.
morning, freezing. You get there during the day, it's super hot, and so I just left my jacket, and then I went to have dinner with some people, like an early like pre-dinner. I didn't call it dinner, and we were hanging out and doing the thing, and then I got called to go to a retailer meeting that I did not know I was to go to,
Ah,
and I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I got to go to that." And even then, I thought that thing was going to be like they. I was lied to. I'm gonna put it like they were like, "Oh, you're gonna go. You're gonna sign some books, 20 minutes, and you can go." Dude, I was there for like 2.5 hours.
oh my god.
It was great. Like I have no problem talking to retailers
Hell
and
no.
thing, but I would like to know that information.
Ahead
Once
of
they got
time.
me in the building, they were like, "You're not leaving this building. You're gonna talk to people and you're gonna sign books." And it was like, "All right, all right, all right." And it was fine. Like it was a moment of it was mostly to promote All In and the All In special, and then it was to talk a little bit about GI Joe stuff. But I had totally blanked on it. But yeah, New York was fun. It was nuts. It went really well. It was definitely like I get out of there like Saturday night. Like
I
I'm
know. Oh, you were
like
gone. Yeah, no. Saturday
yeah,
night, like I
I
was having
will
dinner in the city, and you were
disappear.
in a plane.
Yeah, I will disappear. And then it was rough. I mean, dude, this year's gone by so fast. Like
I know.
2024 went by so quick. Because even then, it was like just last week. GI Joe #1 came out. Thank you to everybody that bought it. Yeah, it was funny. So I haven't talked to you in a bit, or we haven't recorded in a little bit. So I was going through and I'm looking at it, but it is funny how many people at New York and at the signings come up to me and they go, "I saw you on Comic Pop." Like
Hey.
it's all the time. But like a couple days ago, after my wife and I dropped off my son for school, I was like, "Well, let's go to Target real quick and like pick up stuff at Target. It's holidays. Let's grab holiday junk
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
and
I
decorations
know
and
that
stuff."
run.
So of course, while I'm at Target, I'm going to the toy aisle,
Easily.
and
That's like
the
why I go to Target.
yeah, I'm in the toy aisle, and I know exactly what happened. I made a joke with the person about it. But one of the employees was like coming through the toy aisle. I think he was putting something back or checking something, and he looked because so the GI Joe section and the DC section are like right next to each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm looking at him. I'm like, I have all these GI Joe toys. Oh, maybe I'll get that toy. I'm like looking at stuff. I'm like, do I need this stuff? But I think what happened was he walked through. He saw me. He saw I was looking at GI Joe and DC toys. Looked at me again. He left, and then he came back. It was like, "Are you Joshua Williamson?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so we started talking, and it was a nice conversation.
That's awesome.
Uh, good dude, good dude. But I was like, "So here's my question," and I knew the fucking answer, but I had to ask. I'm like,
Sure.
"How did you know what I looked like?"
Right.
Because I'm not really like that online. I guess this is the most online I am. Is
It's
talking
true.
to you. You know,
Yeah, and there
this,
aren't a
like
lot of promo images of Joshua Williamson. Like there's an older black
uh,
and white one without a
that I
beard
hate.
that you
Everybody knows
hate.
that I hate. Yeah,
Yep.
there's two of them. There's one where I was at Image Expo that somebody took a picture of me, and I was super hungover when they took the picture.
Yep.
There's one where I was, and it was actually the last time I really drank at a convention. Was that Image?
You're like, oh,
Um,
bad pictures come out of those shows. I have to make
well,
sure.
no, you just realize at some point you're like, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the last time I was like, probably drank too much of this show, but that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's a picture of me from 2012 that I hate. It's that joke from 30 Rock where she tells Liz Lemon, like Jenna tells Liz Lemon, whatever, if you do something silly, that's the picture they're going to use. They're
Forever.
not gonna use the glamorous picture, right? They're gonna do the silly picture forever. That's what they're gonna do. And she warns her, and then Liz Lemon does everything. She has a rubber chicken, the swimsuit, all that shit. That's the picture they use.
Yep.
And they were right. Like that will
Yep.
haunt you forever. And that was the picture that I took, and it haunts me forever. I hate it. Yeah,
The
the
running
photo.
picture. Yeah.
Yes, dude.
Yeah. Well, you know what the
But
problem is? It's the only picture with you with no background that also does it. When you Google pictures of Joshua Williamson, it's hard to find a good except for that one of you at like
yeah.
Midtown Comics going,
Yeah, I know. There's so funny. I'm getting better about it because like even with this last week because the signings went really well, I was very like I was like, oh man, this is good. So like every signing we did went really really well.
yeah,
We did at Universal City, we did the one at Clerks Paradise, and then I did one at Third Eye, and all of those the lines were massive. Like the Third Eye one was crazy. All these were so funny because it was like Universal, which Universal's weird because it's not a comic shop that's like in a mall or whatever. It's in like the Universal City Walk.
that's so
It's like
cool.
it's like downtown Disney basically, and so it's
Yeah.
great, really great store. But I remember going there as a kid and being like, oh my god, this could be difficult to get to. And the turnout was really good. When I did the store on Thursday, the deal was I would sign from 5 to 7, but I would sign some books like pre-orders ahead of time. So I got there at like 4. It's also super surreal because I had lunch with Mark Wade, and then Mark Wade drove me to the signing in his car, in his convertible. And I had those moments where I'm like, man, life is super weird. I'm
I'm
like,
in a convertible with Mark Wade going to my signing.
my signing, he's driving me to my signing. It was like, I was like, man, I remember waiting in line for Mark Wade's autograph when I was like 13 years old, So it's
Totally.
like, being like a huge fan of his. So I'm like, this is super weird. But so I did the pre-signing for the pre-orders, but I didn't stop signing until 8:30.
Oh
I
man.
was done at 7. But that's how good the turnout was. And so so what was funny is that like so that even then on Saturday it was nice. I had breakfast with Tom King. He drove into town. Sam and I could have breakfast, and he hung out with me at the signing for a little bit before he took off home. He bought a bunch of comics. Uh, it was really funny. We talked about GI Joe and just stuff like we're friends, so it was a big thing. But that signing was bonkers because it was supposed to be they had like a VIP time, so I signed for VIPs, and then it was like 11 to 1. But the problem is my flight was leaving that afternoon to go home.
Oh.
And so they were like, you have to sign from 11 to 1. And I'm like, great. And I signed to almost, I think it was like 2:15, almost 2:30.
Mhm.
I made it, there was no problem. I got home and everything. It was no big thing. But as you were aware, we discussed this before, I'm a talker. So I talk to every single person in line when they bring me books. Like I love comics. You love comics. What's a great Saturday? Let's talk about comics,
Exactly.
right? And at some point, one of the managers walked up to me, and she was just like, "The line is still at the door." And I was like, "Yeah, you said you were capping the line off at noon. You said you were going to cap the line at noon." And this
Yeah.
is that comic store. Have you been to Third Eye before?
I've never been to Third Eye. I've only been to their booth
Dude,
at Baltimore Comic Con, which
dude, you
is
gotta go.
substantial. So I got to check that out.
Dude, it's a superstore. I mean, that shit is no joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big one. It's no joke. And that store is huge. And so she was like, I was like, I lost track of time. And I was
Right.
like, I thought you kept the line off at noon. And she was like, it's 1. It's already 1. And I was like, oh my god, I gotta start signing books faster and stop being nice to people for a minute.
Right.
Just like sign and go. But even at that, dude, I kept hearing people talk about Comic Pop. So again, everyone's watching this. Thank you for always talking to me about that. It's always
Seriously,
great.
no,
I
thank
just
you.
that to people and stuff. I'm glad people are enjoying the show. It was funny with that signing. So part of it was like when you get that level of turnout, right? Like that massive turnout where like the line is insane and people are just bringing me, they're bringing me GI Joes, they're also bringing me Supermans, they're bringing me what was the other thing they bring me? Oh,
Haunted
Nail Biter.
Mansion.
Haunted Mansions. I signed a bunch of Birthright hardcovers, which was
Nice. That just
funny.
came out, right? They just dropped a big, nice
Yeah,
new print of the Birthright hardcover.
it was the first printing, but it's the first time they've done like a big, nice omnibus edition of Birthright.
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten my comps. There was like a mix up with the shipping. And so Skybound got my comps by accident. So they got like all these fucking boxes of books and I hadn't gotten it. So literally somebody, it was cool. It was at Universal City. They were like, this is my favorite comic of all time. And they unwrapped it in front of me. So it was the first time I got to see it. They were the first time I was ever signing it for somebody.
Nice.
And whenever I sign a cover or a book for the first time, I always put a little number 1 in there. So I know they know like this,
That was the
this
first time.
first time I'm signing it, So it was a nice little moment. But it's funny when I come home to then or talk to other creators or but come home and be like, I had this big line. Everybody's like, yeah, okay.
Right. I still have to empty
And you're
the
like,
litter box. Like it's
and I'm like, wait a minute. So this time I made sure people took pictures of these lines. So I
right.
have
Ah.
all these pictures now, and I'm like, I have proof. Look at this. Look at
Yeah.
this. My wife like, cool. Dishes.
Right. Yeah.
I
Well,
was
none
like,
of them are
oh,
gonna do them. So get over there. That's
but
awesome.
yeah, but I'm
I'm
glad. Like,
thrilled, man.
yeah, thanks, man. It was good. G.I. Joe did really well.
Yeah.
I mean, even the stuff we did in New York, number one, obviously sold a ton. I
Yep.
think that number is out there. So we sold a lot of comics. I'm not 100% sure it's the highest selling comic because I've had some DC stuff in that realm. I like the button up went really high. Dark
Yeah.
Crisis went really high. The stuff I've done, Justice League vs Suicide Squad, Batman, Superman, like things
Yeah.
have got there. So I'm
But
actually not
G.I.
100.
Joe's up there. Like it's gotta
Yeah,
be. The numbers are
easily, yeah, it's
nuts.
huge. So it's like, and it's crazy to think that G.I. Joe is in this conversation with these big books. You have things that are launching like Absolute Batman. You have things that are launching, Ultimate Spider-Man, and all these things that have launched over the last year. Ninja Turtles. It was
Yeah.
huge this year. It's like it's. I think if you had told me like 3 years ago, like everything is wins right now. Like
Yeah.
that's what's so crazy about this.
Like
It's
the
like even
song says.
yeah, dude. But it was funny, like even 3 years ago, I think when we were talking, I guess I've been surprised,
Yeah.
like, and not in a way that I had low expectations, but you know me, I feel like I'm a realist, so
You are, but you're
I
also a
had
good
measured.
prognosticator because you know the business, like you know the industry
Mhm.
really well. So you're like there have been many quiet off-camera predictions you've made where you're like, this is how this is gonna do. This is how this is gonna do. And
Yeah.
you've been pretty much on the money the entire time. And it's always validating to have this prediction to like kind of just not pat yourself on the back, but recognize like I do know my shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was thinking even the last couple of weeks there was a book. I'm not gonna say what book it was, but it was a book I really, yeah, it was a book I liked,
Yeah.
and I bet this is the number. It wasn't something I had worked on, but I was
No.
like, I bet it's this, which was a good. It was a good number, and I
Yes,
was like,
yes.
I bet it's gonna sell this. I was like, this is my guess, and then somebody told me a couple days ago they were like, oh, this is what it sold, and I was like, it was dead on the number I said.
Nice.
So I try to, but also this comes from me working at a comic book store.
Oh yeah. No,
My
you get
job at
every
the comic book store.
facet. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually kind of forget about this. So when I was at the comic book store, one of my jobs was pricing the comics. So it was like when Wizard would come in or Buyer's Guide, go through and be like, "Do we have copies of this? Is this a hot comic?" And literally going through and being like, "We have it. I'll put a $10 sticker on this," and
Nice.
like being that person.
Yeah.
you uh, and but then also, even when I was the manager of a store, doing lower prices than the price guys because I wanted these books to move. Because you know how it is, like if you want the book to move, if you
Yes.
go too high, if you're like, oh, it says $10 on Wizard, well, I'm gonna charge 20, and it's like, no, that means the book's not gonna sell now. Do 8. Let somebody, even then maybe do 5. Let someone discover it and feel like they won that day, and they're gonna come
Right.
back. That's what you want people to do. You want them to come back, but
Yeah.
that's part of why my brain is wired that way. But dude, it's so funny. Like Universal, when I went to that store, it's connected to Universal Studios. It's in
Right.
City Walk, and so we went. Me and somebody from Skybound. I'm not sure if they want me to reveal who it was. We went into Universal, and that was super surreal because I haven't been to Universal Studios. I realized in nearly 20 years.
Oh wow.
And so when I walked in, I was like, it was super surreal because I started realizing how much they've changed, how much they remodeled. Like their main street felt narrower than it used to be. And I'm like, why
Mhm.
is that? It's like, oh, because they built Harry Potter over here. Like, you know what I mean? It was all this weird stuff. And also that, like, even that, walking into that and being like, this wasn't here 20 years ago. And way, 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 way back when I was like a gopher and I would work on different sets and stuff, I worked on Universal every once in a while. My buddy and I, we would do different stuff for them. And they were like, if you got off early, they would let you just go to Universal Studios. They'd be like, yeah, go for it.
That's cool.
And so I feel like we knew it pretty well. Right. And so for me, this time walking in, I was like, this is tripping me out. Like, because how much it had changed. Because like
Yeah.
Disneyland, often enough, the changes are incremental and you kind of know them. You're still like, oh, that's cool. This is cool. But
Yeah.
this was like crap. Like, at
Night
one
and
point,
day.
I was like, the ET ride is still here, right? And they're like, that's been gone for like 20 years. And I was like, what? No,
Yeah.
no, that's not right. But it was, dude, it was super weird doing that. But it was a weird day to be like at Universal, walking around, having lunch in Jurassic Park Land or whatever it's called, Jurassic World, And
Yeah.
then being like, and then going and doing a GI Joe signing, and then that night we did a screening of the GI Joe, the movie from the '80s.
Yes.
It was very funny. A friend of mine, he's a screenwriter. He went and he was sitting next to Jeremy Adams, and so the two of them were sitting next to each other. And he had like rushed to get there. He was late. Jeremy was on time. Jeremy got there super early, actually. But this dude like rushed to get there. And again, they get to pay for parking. I get in there, and he gets in there. He sits down. He's just like, man, I can't believe we're all here to watch a Channing Tatum movie. And Jeremy Adams is like, what? No,
No,
man, we're
man.
watching the cartoon from the '80s.
Yeah.
It never. This guy, Jeremy, clearly has seen it. Like, Jeremy's a nerd like me. Jeremy and you too. Jeremy knows what's up.
Yeah.
This dude, he also knows what's up, knows nerdy stuff, but had never seen it before. And so he
Oh,
was over that, like, totally just like, what did we just watch? And at the ending, I'm like, it's amazing, right? It's amazing.
right?
And he was like, that movie was bonkers. And I was so good. Yeah, Jeremy had a blast. Jeremy got free toys out of it.
Nice.
Free GI Joe. Because they gave away GI Joe toys to everybody that went.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really awesome. Yeah, if you went to that screening, you got like a free comic, free GI Joe toys. It was great. Like, that was a lot of fun. I mean,
just to watch the old GI Joe movie in HD, like, don't threaten me with a good time. Are you kidding me? Fun idea. Was it not? Because I remember didn't they just do like a relaunch of the movie where like it was in like 4K or something?
It wasn't HD. We watched it on the big screen though. Like, we watched the big screen. That was worth it. Like, watching it.
That's gotta be cool though. You gotta see it like it was, where it's like it's all kind of grody.
No, but that's the thing though. It was never. So here's the trick with that. It was never in theaters because of Transformers, and so we had a lot of fun.
Transformers. Like they had finished GI Joe, but then they had finished Transformers and released Transformers first in theaters.
And when Transformers had all its problems, they were like, "This is not going on theaters," and it was like, "What?" My memory tells me that it was in theaters, and so that's why when we had this stuff, I was like, "Hey guys, I have an idea. Can we do a screening?" And it went really well, so it was awesome. I had Robert sitting next to me, and we were like, we didn't say shit to each other until the moment was over, and then we started talking about shit. Because when you're watching it, it's like every time you watch it, you get like some kind of idea. Something happens.
Totally.
He and I started like jamming on ideas immediately. It was like, oh, what if we do this? What if we do this? What if this? But that was a lot of fun, and it was good, and it was just, it was a very good, like, you can't ask for a better, I guess, like, week of release. It's like selling really well. We got to go to the screening. The signings went really well. It was a pain in the ass on travel because it's like doing 3 different stories like that on separate coasts within just a couple of days. It broke my brain. I was like, by the time I got to Saturday, I was telling people, I'm like, this is probably my last signing for a year. I was just like, no, I'm done. Because even I think next year, if I do a couple conventions, I'm not sure yet. Like, I haven't really decided if I'm gonna do any conventions next year, but I'm definitely not gonna do signings for a while.
Wow.
I want to do store signings. That's the thing though. I want to do store signings. If I do sign, I'm not as interested as doing as many signings. I haven't decided yet. Like, I'm gonna kind of see how the holidays go, and I'll decide. But I just got a full deck of stuff to do.
I know you're a busy man, and finally you got a minute. You got a minute to like see kind of like the horizon. Let me pitch you an idea.
Oh man,
that you are going to say no immediately to, but it's going to break your heart to say no to. Okay. A reality show. Right? It's a show. It's a show that's made for YouTube. We have like a crew, very minimal crew. We rent an RV and we just hit comic book stores.
I don't know if I would say no to that because I feel like I'm not the okay. All right, hold on. I wouldn't say necessarily say no to that. That's something I'd have to like plan out.
It would need to be very meticulously planned.
I almost think the person that is actually the better person for that is Tony Fleece.
Like, well, he's already doing that.
Doing it like right now.
He's literally he's on that trip right now. And like they're shooting TikToks, they're all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be at the screening. And they were texting him. Because I gave them my guest list. It was so funny because it was like it was a packed room, and we had, you know what I mean? It was like a lot of demand. A lot of people wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, here's who I want to, like, they were like, you have this many people. And I was like, all right, cool. Here's what I want. And even then I was like, man, I could easily bring like 5-10 more people.
Totally.
And I think next time I'll push for that. But Tony was supposed to be there, and then he texted them and he was like, I'm in Ohio. I'm not gonna be there. But yeah, Tony, I think the guy to do that, and also Tony is a personality. Like I think
Yeah.
Tony has a good attitude about things. His relationship with retailers is so great,
Yeah.
and he's legit like a very funny dude. And but you're right, they're doing it kind of right now already. That's
Yeah.
why I'm like, I don't know. I hate traveling, man. So that's
I
that's
do,
part
I
of
do
why
too, but I
I'm
feel
like,
like the problem is I do too. Like I really don't want to do that. Like in my soul, I'm like, oh, what a nightmare that would be. But also, what a damn good show that would be. Like
it would
how
be really
much
fun.
fun that would be. It'd be like
It
this.
would.
Have you ever seen a show called Abroad Japan? Chris Abroad. There's like this
No, I
English
don't think.
expat that like lives in Japan. He made this like whole travel show where he like just visits different spots in Japan. He's been living there for like 10, 15 years. But like
Okay.
he made a dedicated like year-long show where he was like, I'm going to like go up the coast of Japan and each
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
episode will be a different town he goes to. And I was like, man, just do that but for comic book stores
Dude, listen,
across America. And it's like
I
that's
love I like those kinds of travel shows where
you'd
people
love
go
it.
do that. Yeah, I like those kind of travel shows. Like I watched the crap out of Anthony Bourdain. Like I loved all
Oh
his
yeah.
stuff.
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like that would be fun. If somebody should do something like that for comic book stores because it's like there's so many. I mean, too, there's so many here in Portland alone. It's like
Exactly. No, I
there's
know.
so many here, and yeah, it's something that's interesting. I don't know. I think again, it's like after just coming back from a trip, I was literally like, I'm never
I'm
leaving
never
my
going
house.
anywhere ever again.
Yeah, like how I am. We've talked about this, where it's like I get like, listen, I built this room. This room did not exist. We literally built this room. It's massive
Yeah.
because I was like, I never want to leave my house. So I'm like, and it's funny because my wife will be like, because to her it doesn't. It's funny. I remember at one point her and I were having this conversation where I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to a convention for 3 days." Okay, that's one thing. And I'm like, "Oh, it's gonna be so exhausting." I'm flying to New York or Florida or wherever it is, Chicago, wherever it is. It's gonna be so exhausting, for me. And then I'm like, "Oh, but this trip, like a different trip. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go out to LA for 2 days, and I'm just gonna take meetings. I'm not doing signings or conventions, just meetings for 2 days, and then I'll come home like
Yeah.
real fast, real quick, 2 hour flight. To her, it makes no difference. Like
Right.
she's like, you were traveling, you were gone, and I was like, you're right. It is. It's become. It's funny how we've talked about this a lot, like the burnout I was feeling over the last couple of years, the
Yeah.
last two particularly. And it's like I was doing some stuff I was happy with, there was stuff I wasn't happy with, and I was just getting burnt out, and the traveling was not helping. So
Yeah.
it's like now, dude, when I came back from New York, I had this kind of like very, I don't know what it was. I mean, I had a lot of conversations with other creators in New York, and New York was awesome because it felt like the first real New York Comic Con since the pandemic. It felt
Yeah.
there was something about it, like it really clicked.
Yeah.
But when I came back, I had this like very zen attitude about kind of everything. Like I definitely had clarity that I feel like I hadn't had in a while. And part of that was because of the reduced schedule, because it was like, and what we can get into this, like it was, right now the only books that are coming out for me, and like, listen, I'm always working on stuff that we
There's
don't
always something in the hopper, but right
people.
now
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
literally working on only a couple books.
Yeah, it's like, well, we're releasing a couple books, I guess I should say. But
Yes.
I'm not, because there's a difference when you're working on something and developing something where it's like this train is going now and it is
Mhm.
coming out monthly and you got to stay on top of it. And it's really the only two books that are like that for me right now are Superman and G.I. Joe. And so it was like when I came back from New York, and it was like that first week or two where I was just like, man, all I'm doing is Superman and G.I. Joe right now. And then I'm developing stuff. So it's like, there's create your own books that I've been working on. There's different ideas I have and things we've talked about. And I've been, putting stuff together. Not to
Yeah.
give, if I say too much, people are going to figure it out. But
Totally.
I was like, I'm doing stuff. And I'm like, so for the foreseeable future, it's like the only things that are really coming out from me are G.I. Joe and Superman. And so it makes it easier. I just had these like moments of like peace and clarity, and stuff was clicking, and I was like, I don't know, it definitely gave me a lot of clarity and perspective. It was like probably the first time in a long time I felt like a version of I wouldn't call it peace, but I had like a zen attitude about everything. And
Yeah.
even talking to other creators and seeing where their heads were and where people's stress was, and obviously Scott is like through the moon. He's so fucking excited, and he's so jazzed and
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
back, such a massive hit. So he's just like super happy with that. And so talking to him, he's in a really good mood, and I talked
Yeah.
to
And you're talking to
James.
Tom, and he's like friggin' tired all the time and
Tom's
miserable.
tired all the time.
So that
He's
gives you
happy.
perspective as well.
He's
He's
happy.
happy, but he's also like, oh my god. I saw him
Yeah,
do an
there's a lot.
interview recently. He was like in a stairwell, like of a
He's
hotel. It
doing
was
a lot. I feel like him and I changed in terms of the amount of stuff we were doing, because he
right.
was always doing less than me, and now he's doing so much. And then it's like, and James always has a lot.
Oh yeah.
I made a joke to my wife the other day, and I actually told this to James. And I told James he could use it as a quote anytime he wanted. But I was like, James is the kind of person who makes a to-do list and then does everything on that to-do list, and it's so fucking annoying. And it's legit. If he wasn't like one of my closest friends, I'd be pissed at him all the
Yeah,
time. But like, I'm proud of him. I'm so happy that he does
absolutely.
that. Like that dude is like, I have an idea, and he executes that idea. It's beautiful to watch. And there are moments where it's frustrating because like there was a time him and I exchanged scripts. When was this? It was in the spring. We exchanged scripts on like a create our own thing, and we exchanged the scripts. And I was like, well, I'm taking my time on this. I'll get around to it eventually. It'll come out, whatever. And then that dude, like, not that much later, was like, "Here's all the art for the first issue."
Yeah, and you're like, "Well, it's a dawn."
And I was like, "What happened? How did
I'm
this
still
happen?"
mapping out the first issue, man.
Yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
working on how did this happen. But that dude, he just moves, and so it's but that's the thing. Like, always conversation I have with everybody. I really did kind of come out of this with like, it was nuts going from doing like 10 projects a month to doing a lot less. It's been like,
Yeah.
it's just been like, oh god, okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well,
And but New York kind of was the moment. Like I came back from that show that whole first week. I did not do anything that whole first week after New York. I went like got a massage. It
nice.
was like just chilling. It really gave me a lot of clarity about the future and the stuff I wanted to do. And so it was like I'm really excited about stuff and just having these books come out and then yeah, this is coming out. So we're putting this on Tuesday. So this
Yeah.
is coming out. This is coming out
Oh my god.
tomorrow. Well, I'll say tomorrow, but yeah, this issue is dope. It's like Superman and
Superwoman, Lois.
Superwoman at Lois, and they're fighting Doomsday, and there's some twists and turns. I think a lot of this art is actually on the internet. I don't want to reveal too much.
Totally.
I mean, you have some I sent to you, so you can
Yes.
show. But yeah, they do like this issue is dope. Like Dan and Alejandro, they just really killed it. Like they get it. And the issue after this, Superman 21, is the Super Date Night issue.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of it because it's like I don't know. I'm really enjoying doing this book right now, and the stuff Dan is doing is just it's so good. Yeah, that issue 21 is insane. Like the
Yeah.
amount of stuff we're doing that issue. That issue is crazy. A lot happens in that one. But it's that. There's a lot of stuff we're doing with that. The Superwoman special comes out, I think, in a couple weeks.
Nice.
I think that'll come out in a couple weeks, and then the Lex special comes out. And I said this online. I hope people know this that like that Superwoman special and that Lex Luthor special, they're not throwaways. Like those are very key to the plans we have for 2025. Both the things that happen in that, there's like clues in both that'll make people be like, "Oh, that's what's coming."
Nice.
One's real obvious. You're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, that's."
I could have
really
seen that coming. Yeah.
but there's a lot of stuff, It's like there's a lot of things you have planned on the book, and it's you have so yeah, so we have a lot of plans in the book and the stuff that's going on in those two specials, and then obviously there's the big stuff that's left over from All In, which now we can talk about. Oh man, we can talk about this now.
I know. Yeah. No, there's
Spoilers.
so much. I mean,
Spoilers. We can talk about the Dark Legion of superheroes.
yeah, the Dark Legion superheroes, or yeah, what did I call them when we first chatted about it? It was
I think you called them Legion.
the
of
Omega
Doom?
Legion.
The Omega Legion. Yeah, I've gone back and forth on stuff. At one point, I was calling what they were. I was like, oh, it's a Legion of Supervillains. I was like,
Great name. I also like Legion of Doom. That's a fun like legacy title.
Somebody else I saw online call it that, and we can't call it that because that's the Legion of Doom. I feel like it's messing with a Legion of Darkseid, maybe, but I just say Dark Legion. I've said Dark Legion for years.
Dark Legion's the way to go.
This is what's so funny about this is an idea that's been like the first time I started thinking about this was 2016.
Wow.
And so we were trying to figure out a way to do it this whole time. And then when we got to this, I was like, oh, I know exactly what Darkseid wants. Because it was, you have those conversations whenever you're working on any villain and you're bringing a villain in, you always say, what do they want? And, Scott was very about what Darkseid wanted. You can tell, and you could talk to him about it. You can see the specials. He was very in Darkseid's head.
Yeah.
All special, my biggest request was like, oh, he fights Eclipso. And,
yeah,
like,
you were like, I want to get that chessboard in there because that is,
dude,
and it was great.
I wanted that chessboard, and we talked about a bunch of stuff, but then it was like, no, I think there's something to do with this, and I explained how it could work, and at New York Comic Con last year, I was like, here's how this works, and I broke it down, and so, the mystery of All In, that will start, you're going to start seeing some of that and the Darkseid stuff, but that's the thing, there's this lingering massive problem, and that you have the Dark Legion out there, and so that's something we'll definitely pick up, and there'll be clues and stuff.
Oh, sure.
I think it'll be fun to see what people pick up as they go. But the other thing that happened, and I actually think this went to print, I'm trying to remember went to print like right before New York, was I left Green Arrow.
Yeah.
And that was one of the hardest things to do. It was weird because at times I was like, because it was my choice,
Yeah.
right? Same with Batman and Robin, but it was like, I've been really lucky in comics that every time I've left a book, it's been my choice. And when we were doing Green Arrow, originally it was 6 issues, then it was 12, and then it was going to be an ongoing.
Yeah.
And I remember calling them and being like, we knew pretty early that it was like possibly issue 18,
Hmm.
possibly 17, like somewhere in that window. But part of it was because I knew we were going into absolute power and we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is no way my last issue is ending with the
A
family broken
tie-in.
up. Well,
Oh yeah.
tie in, the family
Hmm.
broken up, and Ollie working for Amanda Waller. I was like,
That's right.
that is not going to happen. And I was like, so I have to make sure. And we knew that Absolute Power was going to end with all that resolved.
Yeah.
But it was like, if somebody's a Green Arrow fan, they only want to read Green Arrow, right? Like, I have to make sure that I touch on this and wrap it up. So I was like, we got the timing all right, and then I was like, okay, well, here's when I'm leaving, and I was like, I have a couple requests. I was like, I think we talked before. I was like, you can't break up the family. Um, make it street level, right? But what's funny is the moment I said make it street level, I was like, man, I would have wanted to do a street level Ollie story. Like, I
Yeah.
had so many ideas for that book and things we could have done, but I was just looking at everything and I was like, no, 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 I have to trim stuff down. I'm driving myself crazy. Like,
Exactly.
I'm getting to an unhealthy place with this. It's like I got to figure this out. So it was like trim stuff down, and it was like with that one. But then I was like, they were really great. DC was really awesome about it, and they were like, well, you can have this annual, um, and in the annual you can use that as kind of your like epilogue goodbye to the character and stuff. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's great. I had this idea I wanted to do for it, and they were like, yeah, that's cool. And I was able to just have really a lot of fun with it, like tell kind of an emotional story with Ollie. um, I love always having extra pages. So they're like, 40 pages. And I'm like, great, here's a bunch of 2-page spreads, which we've talked before. I got the Bloodlines 2-page spread in there,
Yeah.
which I was very, very happy about. Um,
I can't believe this got in there, and
oh, dude,
we've been talking about this Bloodlines 2-page spread for over
for
a
a
year.
long time.
Like, you
Yeah,
and I
I
have been
think,
talking about this and how
yeah, I was like,
exciting
it's
this would
going to be
be
in here.
if they let you do it, if we
If
could get
let me
away
do
with
it.
it.
Yeah.
Like, it just
They did.
and yeah, I was the only my only issue with it is
Oh,
that
here we go.
not enough people are talking about it.
Oh, man, listen, people. It's tough because I think if I posted it someplace, which maybe I should do that
You
sometime soon.
need to post it, or because you know what? I haven't done it either. Like, I haven't actually
I'll
isolated
look
it
into it.
because I wanted people to buy the annual. I'm like, buy the annual. There's a couple of freaking moments in this book that you are gonna want to buy, and you'll stick around for the emotionally satisfying story about the arsonist, which is a really cool idea and a really fun execution, and a nice little way of
Thanks.
you backdooring a. Don't worry, everybody's gonna be okay. Like,
Yeah, that was. Listen, I'm always putting those in there. I remember in Flash, it was so funny. So in Flash, um, if you go back and you read um, Flash 51, so 50 ends with them defeating. They defeat Thawne. They
Mhm.
defeat Thawne. But Barry and Wally, they stop, and Wally couldn't save the kids. It was this whole
Yeah,
traumatic thing. Visit Barry, and they go their separate ways. And then 51 was basically about like, well, Wally has to go to Sanctuary, right? And but I used a framing device of Iris from basically from the future talking about this moment, and she's just like, he goes through a hard time, but everything is okay. Like, she literally is telling the reader, and that
yeah,
was me being like, listen, this is coming. It's going to be okay. And then you get to like, I plan far ahead, and then you get to speed metal, and
yeah,
Barry literally is like, Wally, you are the Flash now. He's
yeah,
like, your turn. It's your turn, because I was leaving and I knew what was coming.
yeah.
I had to do it twice because the timing was weird. I literally had Barry go, Wally, it's your turn. And then the last page is Wally literally saying, damn right. And I have that page. I actually
Nice.
have it. Because to me, that was my real last page.
Yeah,
But then with Infinite Frontier, I had to again have Barry be like, you are the Flash, and I'm going to go into space. I'm going to go in the multiverse and investigate the multiverse while you are the Flash on Earth.
yeah.
And then I knew Jeremy was coming, and Jeremy was great, and he was gonna do a whole thing with the kids, and he was gonna be. Cause I brought the kids back.
Yeah, yeah, you
Like,
did.
because Speed Metal has the whole. There's a. That's why I own all those. I own the last page of Speed Metal, but I own all four of the last pages because it is literally everybody's there. It's the only time in probably about 15 years that it is Wally's kids. It's Linda. It's Jay and Max Mercury and
Yeah.
Impulse. The only character that isn't there is Exus. But I was like, I can only get so much in here. Um,
Someone's got
and
to
so
kill.
I had a sequence. Maybe she is in there, but I got everything in there to give it to Jeremy to be like, you get to play with all of these toys now. Go.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when people come in, they're like, "Oh, Jeremy brought the kids back," and I'm like,
Jeremy enjoyed the quiz. Like Jeremy used the kids, but
and he got another baby in there. Yeah, like I mean, you know, Jeremy's flash run was great.
yeah.
I'm very excited for his Aquaman. Again, if you're watching this, you should pre-order Aquaman #1. The FOC's come out pretty quickly, and Jeremy is awesome. Him and John Timms are great creators.
Yeah.
But you know, that was the thing with Green Arrow. It was just me being like, I have to find a way to be like, it's gonna be okay.
All right.
But some of that was also me telling me it was gonna be okay because I was not afraid of losing it or leaving it, but I definitely was like, I had mixed feelings on it. I knew it was the right decision, but I really do love that character a lot, and I felt like I had a lot more stories to tell with him.
Yeah.
But you know, when they told me it was gonna be Condon, I was very excited about that because it's like I really like that Texas Blood, and he's done a bunch of stuff I like, and I got to talk to him about it, and the stuff he wants to do was like, yes, this is exactly what that book should be, and yeah, I'm very excited for him coming on. I think it actually is also coming on tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you know, yeah, he's a good dude. I talked to him a bit at New York Comic Con this year too. I actually kept running into him.
Oh, that's funny.
It was crazy. So at one point I was like, "You and me are bonded for life," and like, you know. It was, but I've been really lucky with that too, you know, because even with leaving Flash, having somebody like Jeremy come on and take it and run with it, you know, pun intended. He did a great job. And having Philip on Batman and Robin, having Chris on this, like I've always been lucky. You know, even when I left Batman, Superman, having Gene come on, it was just like, you know, I've been really lucky because it is a thing where you're like, it's funny because I always talk about this like between creator-owned comics versus DC stuff, Marvel stuff like that, like. You know, you're a babysitter.
Yeah.
You know, your baby that's somebody else's baby.
Yeah.
Is what it is, right? Like Damien was somebody else's baby. You know, it's like when I'm working on these books, it's like Green Arrow, Superman, Batman. That's somebody else's baby. That somebody else created that. You're caretaking that, but you got to take care of that.
You're a steward.
You know? And the goal is you want to make sure that you don't ruin that baby. You want to make sure that like the next person, because even if they want to do something different from you, and even if like the audience doesn't agree with necessarily what you did,
right?
You don't put them in a position where that person can't pick it up and go forward with it, you know. And it's like, because anything comics, you know, you can do anything with comics.
Yeah,
everything is, you know, when it comes to the characters, like I actually love it when somebody looks at a character and that character they see it's broken. Like maybe I broke something, but they look at it and it's easy to fix. Like. There's a story reason to fix it. Don't just ignore it. Just come up with the story to fix it. But I feel very lucky with all of that stuff. But yeah, Green Arrow, it was tough. But I got to sneak stuff in like that, man.
Yeah.
Getting Bloodlines in there, you know. I just got to figure out when we're going to get that Bloodlines omnibus.
I know. It's outrageous they don't have it because it's like, come on, man. Speaking of omnibuses. But by the way, get us that Bloodlines omnibus.
Yeah, I hope they do it.
We haven't talked since the DC versus Marvel omnibus came out.
Oh yeah, I have mine over here. I haven't even opened it yet.
Oh, I haven't either. It's still in the shrink wrap. I'm just like,
yeah, mine is literally right here. I haven't opened it up yet.
Yeah. Does it kill you?
What's that?
Does it kill you that DC changed the effing logo back to the Bullet logo after they printed it?
Are you joking? Hold on.
So when it says DC versus Marvel.
Oh man, no! Listen, I mean, listen. This is no. You're right, dude. God damn it. Listen. At least it's that logo, okay?
Yeah. Yes. It's not the page flip logo.
I was trying to figure this out. I was talking about this with DC, and me and Marie were talking about this, and I've talked with a couple other creators, and I'm like, I feel like. There is only a handful of creators that have basically because that logo, the one that is the new one, the returned one,
yeah,
that was a logo for like 20 almost 30 years.
It was one of
so
the
it's like But then you had a bunch of logos in a smaller span of time. How many creators have been there enough to have not trades? I'm not going to count collections in this because I don't think that this should be fair because of reprints. Having new books come out with all of those logos
Right,
on them.
with the most amount of
With the
DC
most of them.
logos.
I was like, I, for odd reasons, have all of those on them. So the
Nice.
71 all the way to now. It's weird to come back around to that, right?
Yeah.
I know Scott does. Scott does. Here's the funny thing. Scott does now
Yeah. Yeah.
because he didn't have any before. So
Yep.
same with me. I believe I don't think I ever. Yeah, there's no way I did. Scott does, but it's funny to think about somebody like Wade doesn't because I don't think Wade has any of the page turn ones on him.
There's no way is the page turn ones. Does he
He
have?
has the swoosh.
Does he have the swoosh? Okay. Yeah.
He has the swoosh. I think because of I think he has the swoosh because of Birthright, because of Superman Birthright.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that I think that came out because that came out in that window.
I think
So
you're
I
right.
believe he has the swoosh. I'm fairly sure that issue 1 of that has a swoosh.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the peel.
No.
I think the peel is the one that he doesn't have. But then the 2016 one, that was the one that launched with Rebirth.
Yep.
That one was the one for the last 8 years. So it is weird, but I will say this. Do I have it on me right now? Yes, one of the coolest. Do I have it here? Yeah. This goes back to my whole, I could be a nerd about things, but it's like I'm looking at all these books I have here on my dude, when I found out they were doing that, the very first question I asked, I had one question. As soon as they told us they were doing that, I was like, it has to be on this.
Yes.
Like, I was like, there's no way we can't have it on this. If this doesn't have it, I was like, guys, because the timing was weird.
Yeah.
Because it was like they didn't want to tell anybody, and they wanted to save it for that panel with James announcing it. I was like, guys. And so we were able to make it work. But with that, I have a bunch of books over here. When we did Superman 19, this awesome Dan Moore cover, because again, if you don't know this Dan, like the genius, it has the DC logo, but also has the All In logo. And so this is well, it has a legacy triangle, right?
The triangle,
but the one that got me, the one that got me, that made me be like a little, you have those moments of just like, oh man, it's so cool, like just as a comic nerd, a DC nerd, was this one.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm happy those have the All In logo on it, but there's something about this one just saying annual on it underneath it. Like there was something about this because this took me back.
Yeah.
This made me this was the nostalgia hit for me. Like before this, I wasn't getting hit in the feels with the new logo until I saw it. The moment I saw this is when I was like, man, that's so cool. I wish this had been perfect bound because I know it would have been over the top because that's how it used to be, they used to do that.
I miss those, man, so much.
Me too. I wish they would do more one shots that were like that, but those were a lot thicker. Those were like 60 pages.
The thing is, like, you get a lot. Like, I think people are hungry for that. You just these. I have an entire shelf in the library at the studio dedicated to the Batman perfect bound. Just these stories. There's these like.
So when I sold my comic book collection, back in 2008, it was hard. We've talked about this. It was a rough time.
Yeah, I don't think there's an episode that goes by that you don't talk about when you sold your comic book collection with this real like mournful like, are you just gonna buy it back? Like, when are you just gonna have a space to just get all your comic books back?
I mean, I've done. I feel like there's definitely certain things that I sold in that window that I've gotten back.
Yeah,
the one that hurt, it was so I kept the stuff I kept. Like I kept Batman. I kept my Batman run and my detective run.
Yeah.
And then I kept my Flash run. So like Wade all the way through Jeff. Like I kept that run.
Yeah.
And then I kept what else did I keep? Well, I sold the ones that really hurt was I sold like my Incredible Hulk collection, but the one that to this day I feel we've talked about this is the Amazing Spider-Man one. Yeah, because that was from dude, it was issue 20 of Amazing Spider-Man, First Prince of Scorpion, all the way through to at that moment was present day 2008. It was the entire thing. That is the one that hurts the absolute most. And there have been moments where I've seen people have it for sale, and I wish I could have got it, but I didn't. And at this point, what I do is I get those omnibuses that I get a bunch of Spider-Man omnibuses, and but that is the one to this day that like it gets me right here. But with this, something I did not sell was I had a long box of just those one shots.
Yes,
and just those one shots. I still have it. I still have this long box of just those
Nice.
one shots because it was like what became the challenge was how do I sell these?
Yeah.
Like if some was a big old bulk, and then I kind of forgot. Like it kind of got mixed in with the boxes, so I was like, no, I'm keeping. Oh, anything that was signed, I kept. So I had
Oh,
to find.
sure.
So it was like Hitman #1 was signed, so I had to like go and find a Hitman #1 to fill the spot, so I could sell the entire set.
Yeah.
Uh, this is when I realized that Deadpool was popular again when I sold the Deadpool one because I sold my Deadpool collection of comics, and it wasn't like a crazy thing, and it didn't even include like his first appearance. You're talking about like the first Circle Joe Mad stuff, the Ian
Yep.
Churchill stuff, the Ed McGuinness, Joe Kelly stuff, all the way through to at that moment was present day, so like 2008, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just that run. It wasn't even all the minis. It was just the run and the one shots. Like remember they did like the minus issue and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like all that was in there. I sold that for like $500,
Wow.
and that's when I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this guy is, and we talk. I'm a big Deadpool fan. I got a little
Yeah.
Deadpool in the office, so it's like I feel like that was a moment of like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. This is something
Yeah.
people
He's popping
really like
off.
Deadpool. But I have those, dude. I have those perfect bound one shots. I love those.
No,
Those
aren't
are
they
great.
so cool? And like they're treasure troves. Sometimes you'll be like, oh yeah, and then be like, what the hell was that? Like this is incredible. But I
Yeah,
want more of those. I want those back out into the world because like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
done in ones. They're also there's like a little bit of a prestige to them.
Oh
And
yeah, they were nice. They were nice. The challenge became. This might be a longer conversation about comics in
Mhm.
general and sort of the challenges we have of comics, but I'm not gonna say I'm torn on this. I agree with you. That stuff is really fun. I wish we had more of it. Part of where the challenge comes in is they don't have legs.
Yeah,
So
it
what
comes
I mean
out
by
and
that,
it's over.
I mean, yeah, you know what I mean. But for the audience,
Oh
that's
yeah,
the challenge. That stuff comes out, and then where do you put it after that, right? Like
yeah.
it's hard. You collect where do you collect it? That's one thing. So in a lot of cases with Batman, it's easy. You just put together a trade of all of them at some point,
Boom.
right?
Yeah.
Or you get a writer who is like, he's written enough stuff that he's like,
Put it
oh,
all
I
in
can.
one.
You
Yeah.
put it all on one. You get these like collections and things like that. But that is where some of the problems come in. So like every once in a while they'll do a one shot or something, and you're like, where does
Go.
that go now? And so I like done in one stuff. Like even when I worked, I'm sorry, when I lived in the east side of Portland, I lived across the street from a comic book store, and there'd be times where I would just like, grab a bite to eat at the food cart, walk into the comic book store, and I would look for annuals
Yeah.
to be like, I just want to read a done in one story. Let me just read this. I'll eat with lunch.
Yep.
Just let me sit here and read a little quick thing. That's even the thing with Green Arrow special, why it was built the way it was, where it was like it was supposed to serve many roles because it was like, okay, it's my last issue.
Hmm.
And you never know. Like I don't take this stuff for granted. It might be the
Yes.
last time I write that character. I don't know. Because even with this is what's funny. Even with the Barry, when I wrote Speed Metal, I was like, this is it. I'm never writing him again. And then I wrote him again in Infinite Frontier in the special, and then in that issue, and then I wrote him in Dark Crisis,
Yep.
and it's like I wrote him in I think it's 800, right? So it was
Hmm.
like I don't take it for granted. I recognize it. So I was like, okay, I have one last thing I want to say about this character and talk about his family, and this is what I want to do. But at the same time, I was like, I want somebody to pick this up and just read this.
Yeah.
Like you have to have read nothing else.
No,
It
it's
still
such an
connects
easy
to
it's
stuff,
such an
but
easy sell. Like
yeah.
I've been pitching the shit out of it because I'm like, hey, if you
Thanks.
like Green Arrow, check it out. It's funny because your run on Green Arrow, the debut of Green Arrow, like that front cover, I think that's
Oh yeah.
is that Sean Isaacs on the cover of
Yeah,
that?
Sean Ice, man, he's
So
great.
great.
Yep.
I remember that
Great dude.
came out, and I was doing a show with Benny the Comic Story, and we were both going over the cover,
Mhm.
and neither of us could name every character on the cover, and the audience went ballistic. And
Oh
I
my
was like,
god.
that was
Now what?
and I was like, I had to be like, I'm not a huge Green Arrow fan. I don't really know everybody. I couldn't name everybody, and we were just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And both of us were like, I don't know. And but it got me to go like, I owe it. I got to read this book, and it was such a fun book, and it was easy. It was an
Like,
easy read, and it was on my pull list every week. And every time we talked about it on the Off the Rack, I'm like, you got to check out Green Arrow. I'm one of those people who didn't read a lot of Green Arrow, and here it is, and I'm digging it. And the annual is just like a gift. It's just a little like
yeah, it's not, well,
reward.
it was a gift for me too
Oh
because I
sure.
got to do the thing I wanted to do, and yeah, it's been really I'm gonna miss that family. I'm gonna miss that character, 'cause especially now. This is the thing about the clarity thing
Yeah.
is that when I came back from New York Comic Con, I had this clarity, and I had I made some like big boy decisions, I guess, about my career and life and like what I want to do next. And I was like sitting here thinking about a lot of these things, and it made me go back and I had so much hindsight on some things
Oh,
of
sure.
like little things I would do differently and how I would do differently. And also it's just like, before when you're doing man, when you're doing 10 books a
Oh,
month,
yeah.
like you have no time to breathe. And it's like you're just moving. You're just
Yeah.
moving. And it's like the moment it got really bad, we talked about this, the moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I was doing Night Terrors because Night Terrors was basically a weekly book. So it
Yeah.
was like on top of everything else I was doing.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was doing man, we were Batman and Robin and Green Arrow and Superman, and we were
Not to
gearing up
mention
G.I.
Dark
Joe.
Ride was going on. Like,
That ride was going on. Like my brain was melting, and it was like that was the thing that really got me.
yeah.
And going back and being like, oh, I would do this different. 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 And it's like it was kind of funny because it made me look at this stuff. But then it's this thing that I think I told you, Dan DiDio told me when I was frustrated one time
Yep.
about something. We talked about this before. I was frustrated about something,
hmm
and he knew I was frustrated. I felt like I fucked something up, and he basically was just like, "Listen, you get next month. That's
Yep.
the thing about comics. Every month, you try again. Every
Yeah.
month, you try."
You get
And,
another
and, and
shot.
you see that with creators and comics and stuff, and you know, um, but yeah, man, it's been interesting coming back, and yeah, I got this. This is also coming out. We never sell anything on here. It's so
I know
funny. We
it's
never.
true.
This is a third trade that it collects the Absolute Power tie-in issues, Zatanna, which also Jamal Campbell gonna be launching Zatanna
Oh, yeah, that's
pretty
right.
soon. It's his like dream book. It's his favorite character, which is why we put her in these issues. On top of I like her a lot, my daughter's a big Zatanna fan, but I knew him coming back and working with me again. I was like, let's do this, and then we helped set up. So like, there's actually a couple elements from this that will then continue into his book,
Oh, nice.
and then obviously GI Joe.
GI Joe number
Go
one.
pick it up. Yeah,
Holy
this wraparound
crap!
cover is dope.
Great
Uh,
wraparound cover.
dope. I
Tom
love
Riley's
wraparound.
art is friggin'
Oh,
phenomenal
dude,
in
him
that.
and Jordy, dude, they're so good.
Yeah.
Him and Jordy are so good. And
Hell
I'm
of
gonna
a
put
last page, by the way.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about that too much. I feel like we should reissue
No,
two.
I think you
Um,
named issue 2 the spoiler for the last page.
did I really?
I think it's
I think it
called.
depends in the solicits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That stuff I'm not really sure, but
So it's something like
yeah.
yeah. Well, I won't spoil it, but
Well,
it's
we're
fun.
people. I mean, it's been 2 weeks, I guess, when this
Yeah.
airs. So pick it up, read it, get issue
Yep.
two. It comes out in December. The stuff we have planned for it is really exciting.
Yeah.
It's something else that I've planned for a while on, and we've been. I don't know. It's really good. I do have a question for you.
Oh, let's hear
Really
it.
quick.
Yeah.
Did you read Alien Avengers #2?
Of course. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. No, I did.
So good.
It was
So
so
good.
good. Yeah, I
Annoying.
okay. So I loathe Prometheus and everything Ridley Scott has done since Prometheus. Like I hate it.
Mhm.
I hate
Okay.
Prometheus. I hate Alien Covenant. They're awful.
The
They're just
scores are very good for those movies.
and Prometheus is still by far like one of the best looking movies of the year
Oh,
that
dude.
came out.
Yeah, I got the
Gorgeous
Blu-ray
movie.
for that, and
And
I got like a nice one.
yeah, and
Really.
ironically blasphemous because it's horrible to the alien mythos. Like it just destroyed everything. I'm like, I hate everything you're doing. And it's frustrating when you're watching like a piece of art like that where it's like I love David. I think David's a fun character. I think it's
Oh
a
yeah.
fantastic thing.
Yeah.
And I hate him because he shouldn't be here and it's all garbage. Like you're just like I'm like you're ruining everything. As far as I like
People
the
make decisions in that movie that are so infuriating that you're like,
infuriating.
it's really annoying when characters are presented as the smartest characters and then they do dumb things. So you're like,
It's for me it's like I'm a stickler for that. Like I understand like people can't get past like the one scientist who's like making goo goo eyes at like the cobra that's like striking his face. My problem is that the engineers are going to destroy humanity because Jesus Christ is an engineer and that they crucified him. And I'm like,
mhm,
what are you
mhm.
doing? Like, what are you doing? This is a movie
It's
about
weird.
nihilism?
I think about Alien and aliens like all the time.
Me
I don't
too.
know why. They just come up, right? Because it's just like a part of our lives. It comes
Yeah.
up. And I feel like there's definitely heat to Alien and Aliens. And so it's like, I'll watch those movies at least
Any time of the
once.
day, and it'll take up my whole day. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll watch them because well, I think we talked about, I wouldn't watch them both back to back because who's
No.
got the time? But I'll start, those are Movies. Tom King and I were talking about this yesterday where there are certain movies that like late night you'll just start. You might never finish them, but you start them. And Aliens are those movies. Like you
Yeah.
could just start, watch the first half of it and be like, cool, did it, go to bed, whatever. It's like all the time. And actually,
Yep.
I watched Aliens 3 maybe a couple months ago. I have not watched Resurrection in a long time. I think I saw it like, I actually not even sure if I watched. I think I watched it one time all the way through. Um,
I saw
I
Resurrection
try
in
to give.
the theater.
Oh man. Well, you and I talked before. I believe in giving everything a second chance,
I
especially with
did.
time.
I gave my wife and I watched Alien 3 during the pandemic.
Yeah, and
It sucks balls.
is
There are
there like
moments
a?
ooh, I'm like, ooh, that's cool, but then it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, man, is there like? Because I don't know this. You're gonna tell me if I'm wrong. Is there like a director's cut of that or something?
There is not.
Is there some kind of weird thing where it's like it doesn't match his script or something?
That's
Like
correct.
Dark
Yes. No.
Horse
Well,
released
no.
it.
They like
Right. Okay.
they like built sets for a script that doesn't exist. Like they were going to go to a planet made of wood, and then like they scrapped that. So there's all these sets that are built out of wood, and they're like, why? Like no, that movie is like it's a miracle it came out, and
Hmm.
you'll hear Fincher talk about it where he's like, I can't believe it exists.
Oh no, I know. He hates it.
Oh, he hates
I'm
it, but
aware.
he's like, it's amazing that it came out, like because of how many things messed
Went
up
wrong
on
with.
that movie, and also how like people are like, ooh, the CG sucks. I'm like, there's only 2 CG shots in that entire movie. It's all like just bad, like compositing.
Yeah, it's weird. So are you excited about the TV show at all?
I am because I know he hates Prometheus.
Oh, that's interesting. So
What's
this is
funny
the thing.
about
So
that is
that
that,
so
that's it's gonna be because Ridley Scott said he's coming back, and I'm like, no, leave
well,
it alone. And
I
did
had
you see
worked on.
that new one?
No, I have not. I was asking, did you like that one?
All almost, yeah.
I know the ending isn't great, right? The
The
ending kind
ending
of falls
is
off.
not great, but also
Yeah.
then some Prometheus shit happens. Like it's really tight
Does he
until it
have? Okay, I
isn't.
guess. So all right, because I haven't seen it. It's on Hulu now, so
It
I'm
looks
probably gonna watch
good. Like it looks
it.
really good. Like there's some shots in there. There's also some grave robbery I'm not a big fan of, but like the set design, all the stuff, like all the stuff
Mm.
to approximate the world that they set up in Alien is really great.
Well, so I've been I was debating watching it last night. I'm probably gonna
It's
watch
worth
it tonight.
seeing.
But it's tough. It's always tough when you like people tell you a movie's ending is bad, and it's like, and I don't, and that's
It's
the thing.
not
It's like,
bad. I mean, it ends like every Alien movie, but it's just not like
well,
satisfying.
the Prometheus stuff is interesting, right? Because it's like, I guess the thing that I would say or ask, I suppose, is like, what is the end game? Like,
Right.
what is the story? I guess that's what I would be like, because what's funny is a lot of times these creators
Yeah.
and comic creators are like this too, where it's like
Mhm.
you see these kind of piecemeal
Yes.
pieces of a story, right? And it's scattered across different books or it's scattered across a year's worth of a book or whatever. And they might be like, I have this massive thing, and it's going to be like Easter eggs and pieces, and it's going to be like 12 years of
Yeah,
12
there's no
movies.
guarantee you're gonna get that, man.
You're going to get all that, but if you sit down and ask them about it, like if you actually are able to have that real, like, get them excited, be like, oh, here's the whole thing,
Yeah.
and they do plan. Like a lot of times they're just like, well, here's how it's gonna go, and they've thought about it, and they're just like an eruption of
Yeah.
information, stuff like that. And that's the thing with, I guess, Ridley Scott and Prometheus, where I want to be like, I know you know it, I
Right.
know you know, but to bring it back to Hickman,
Yes.
I am fascinated by this because reading the first one, so I didn't know there was a so. Dude, it's funny. I didn't know there was an Alien TV show coming. I knew, but I didn't know. I knew.
Well, they're
So
not
the
like
guy
promoting
who,
it in any way. I'm just like
well,
I
yeah,
heard
that was the
threats of
thing.
it.
The guy who's making it is the same guy who's made a bunch of the TV shows and movies I like. So I was like, I knew he was doing it, but it's like Guillermo del Toro was gonna do Haunted
Oh
Mansion.
yeah.
It's like yeah, they're doing it. Sure, okay.
Maybe if it ever comes
Maybe
out, like
I hope
yeah,
they do, and then they don't. So you're like, and
you
again,
don't
that's
get
the
your
thing.
hopes up. Yeah, I'm the same way.
Guillermo's got a ton of stuff he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
He's like me. It's like if I showed you my notebook of stuff I want to do, it's crazy. It's like I'm not gonna
You're
get
like,
so much
you'll never
stuff.
get there.
Yeah, so it's like with Hickman, when I read the first issue of Avengers Aliens or Alien Avengers, I
Yeah.
read the first issue and I immediately was like, dude, he's unlocking stuff, because I was like, oh, he's right. They should do a story where they come to Earth and it's just full on Earth. And I'm like, I know Alien
Yeah.
Predator and all that, but I'm like, no, this
Oh
is
sure.
different. This is legit. And then same feeling when I'm reading issue two. And issue
Yep.
two is just, man, there was a moment in issue two. We're gonna get deep into spoilers here, people. If you haven't read this
Yeah, they
comic,
read it. They've read it. There's no way
when
they didn't.
when I got issue two, and man, when freaking Steve Rogers showed up, dude,
Oh
I was
no.
so much emotion. I was feeling it.
Ugh.
They got me because I was
Yeah.
like, dude, you get
Let
Captain
them
America.
on. Don't leave. And he's like,
Get
can't.
Captain America. And Bruce is like, nah, man. There's no way I'm
Yeah.
leaving. Like, I'm going. And it was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go help them.
Yeah.
It's my guess. Issue 4, their backs
They're
against the
coming
wall,
back.
totally fucked, and then Hulk and Captain America show up. Yeah.
I hope
I
so. I hope
guess
it's not
pure
like,
guess,
because the
pure
thing is,
guess.
I don't know if Hickman likes Captain America or not.
I mean, I did a Avengers reread.
I
Last.
think he thinks he's a sap.
No, really?
Yeah, because I don't
I
think
think he likes.
I think Hickman doesn't respect Captain America. I think he's like, no,
Oh
no, no.
man.
Cap has his place, but he's too stupid for the New World Order. Like, I think that's
No,
his.
I'm talking because he. Listen, remember he was the one that remembered because dude, he got attacked by the Illuminati
Yeah,
because
that was a
he was
dope
the one
moment.
in the room that was like no, but then he remembered. I think
Yeah,
he
and then
just
he
feels like
dies punching Iron Man as the world explodes.
no, but he's fine. No. But listen, so like with that book, when he does that, but there was a moment, the moment Steve Rogers, I started thinking about how much Hickman is fascinating because the ability that Hickman has to relay a lot of information,
In a little
like
bit of, yeah.
he has a really strong balance. We talk about like when I read comics, it's interesting how sometimes I read a book and I'm like, this person had a story they wanted to tell. That's fine. They just shoved it in 22 pages.
Yes, that happens so
And
much.
every page is 5 panels long.
Hmm.
Every page has the same weight, has the same balance. There's no this in the issue. It's just this
Hmm.
is I'm shoving it in and like and Tom and I talk about this all the time where it's like it's not just a story you're trying to tell, it's how you want to tell it. You
Yes.
know, and Tom does this a lot, right? Like Tom,
Oh
this
yeah.
is very Tom thing. And so I think about this sometimes when I'm working because I don't always want to lean into that, but I do make a conscious decision every time I'm starting a script. How am I relaying this information?
Exactly.
Hickman does it in a way that's so fascinating because the beginning is like loaded, but then he'll have these moments where the pages are very minimal dialogue and it's just stuff happening really big. And I remember getting to that moment where Steve Rogers showed up, and I was just like, man, this book, it is so
It's
good.
special.
It's
It
so
is.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the
Beautiful,
way they,
beautiful looking comic book. Just
yep,
good book.
beautiful looking comic book. The way he weaved in the Prometheus stuff, like I hate it, but I respect it. Where he was like, no, like David wins
Dude,
and
having
then goes
David
into the
show up and like
multiverse.
just start killing them and stuff, and then yeah, the
Yeah,
multiverse stuff, and then Tony Stark like calling him out. I was like, dude, this is
that was
just
great. That moment when Stark
I
is
was
like,
like,
I
dude,
know
come
what a
on, man. Like,
robot is.
listen,
I'm like,
listen. I'm glad that Hickman isn't Marvel. I'm glad he does that stuff, but he's definitely somebody where I'm like,
you want
I
to get
would
that guy.
love to give him some franchises. Just be
Right. And
like,
just like, what would you do?
go,
And he would be like,
go.
he'd lock himself in like a cabin for a couple days, and then he'd come out and be like, here it is. And it'd be
I like
friggin'
how you said a
cool.
couple days. Try a year, buddy.
I don't know. Well, he'd have the formula, but yeah.
No, but he knows. Like it's funny how when I see people try to like mimic him and they do like data pages and stuff like that, and I'm like, I get that that's what he does, but it's like there's so much more to what he does with character and planning. I
Yeah,
always
it's
like
not just data pages. It's yeah.
that's what's fascinating about the Ultimate Spider-Man thing is that if you really look at Hickman's history at Marvel, it's always been 2 books,
Mhm.
2 books. You know, it's always like 2 Avengers books, 2 Fantastic Four books, right? It's always
Yeah.
2 books. So I'm always like, it's fascinating that with Ultimate Spider-Man, he's doing 1 book. Because even
Yeah.
X-Men, he did X-Men, but it was like Hoxpox 2 books,
Right.
right?
Right.
Then he co-wrote stuff, and he obviously was
Yeah,
managing.
New Mutants, I think he did that one, which was a
Yeah, with
fantastic, awesome series.
yeah. But that's the
Um,
thing. Like he comes in and does 2 books. This Ultimate Spider-Man's funny, and even with this Avengers, the fact that Alien Avengers is only 4 issues long
I know.
is like, I mean, that's a book that I hope when they release it, as like a big hardcover. Like
Me too.
give me, yeah, let's have that Rebec art like in a bigger size and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one. And the reason why we're talking about this though is just because that was I read that yesterday and I thought of you and I was
Oh,
like, this is such a good book, and I was like, there's a lot of books that came out this year that I really
yeah.
like, and that one is definitely one of them. I mean,
No,
because even when it
AVA
was
is great.
announced, you were like,
It's such a good book.
it
Oh my
was good.
god.
When it was announced, it was annoying. We talked about this because it was like, whoever figured out this logo,
Oh my god. Yeah. I
whoever
think it was
figured out
probably
the
him.
flip of the logo is a
Yep.
genius.
It's the Williamson.
Um,
Yeah. So
it's
cool.
super annoying, but good job, everybody.
Yep.
Somebody showed work that day.
Yeah, they did. They did it. They
But
did the job.
yeah, I read it. I was talking to my assistant about it, and we were talking about books we had read this week, and I was like, "Oh, I like this one. I like this one." And I was like, I hadn't read it yet, and they were like, "Oh, if you like aliens, if you like kind of the bigger mythology, I think you'll enjoy it." And so I was like, "All right, cool." And then I read it and I was like, oh, like
Yeah.
annoyed. So like it's so good.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, you hit that moment. It's always, dude, it's funny when you're working on a comic or writing when you're reading a comic as
Yeah.
a writer, you hit that moment where you're just like, this is working too well.
Yep.
And what I always end up doing is it
Yes.
makes me stop reading it for a moment and I go back and look at what I just read.
Yes. Me
You
too.
know, I go and I do weird stuff. I'll count panels. Like I'll go back and be like, how did he do this? And be like, how did he do this? And I get there and then I'm like, man, it's just the build up in that book. Yeah. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that book that's probably my favorite thing I read this week, even though I think it came out last week.
Yeah, it
Uh,
did. Yeah.
yeah, I'm behind because I missed like a week of stuff, and so
Exactly.
I was
Ultimate
behind.
Spider-Man is also great. Like, it's such a good read,
Oh
but I'm
yeah, it's really
also
good.
it's one of the most stressful reads of my life because I'm always like, when is the other shoe gonna drop? Like, that's because like it nothing big enough has happened, and I know that like that's what it's a slow burn, and then eventually it's just gonna be this
Do you
explosion,
think
and I'm
it's
like,
gonna break your heart?
yeah,
Man, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I think that Hickman is playing. What's really interesting about Ultimate Spider-Man is how much Hickman is playing with your expectations. That book is
yes.
built. I might be wrong on this,
No, he knows what you think is gonna happen or what you expect
Well,
to
it's more than that because I don't know Hickman at all, so I'm not gonna speak to what he's doing, but I can speak what I think he's doing. What I
happen.
see is that like I think he's playing with your expectations because it is built around the idea that you know who Spider-Man is and you
Right.
know Spider-Man mythology. It is built with you knowing that, you knowing it. You know,
Yes.
and I think when you read those first couple issues and you're like, this is built for a world. I had this conversation way back when I worked at the when I was working at the comic store like 20 years ago, talking about Wolverine, where I was just kind of like, you don't have to do a Wolverine origin story. Not origin, like origin was fine, but if you're doing like Wolverine #1, for example, it's like people know who Wolverine is,
People get it. Yeah.
right? And I think now because we have so much Spider-Man, like Spider-Man is the most popular characters in the world.
Yep.
You have obviously multiple different movies. You know, it's
Yeah.
like he's James Bond now, where there's multiple different actors. You have Spider Verse, one of the most popular movies to come out, like changing the game for animation. Not only do they know who Spider Man is, they know who Spider Man is. They know his history, they know mythology of it, they know the information.
Yep.
And so Hickman is taking that idea that you know all that information already, and he's going like, okay, well, I'm going to basically mess with it, like,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna tweak it, but he's not going to waste time explaining it to you because he
No.
knows you know
No.
it. And when I'm reading it, I'm like, I'm conscious of that, like as you're reading it. And so I think that the thing with that book is, and it's fascinating what you're saying, is I feel the same way when I'm reading it, where it's like, what's that thing? What's
Yeah.
that thing? And is he ever going to do that? I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't
he's
know.
having fun. Clearly, you can tell when you're reading a book, like it's confident and it's fun,
Yep.
and it's like, I mean, he did a whole issue of just Jonah and Ben,
I
and,
know.
and we're
Or the
all like,
date where he's just like, I don't have any like I have the patience that you don't, and I don't care. Like it's just the
that's, you know what, dude, that's the thing about reading Hickman's work, is really seeing how he does have like a confident patience with his
yeah.
work. You know, it reminds me of uh like 70s movies where
Yeah.
when you had this moment where movies were very built in the 60s and 50s to be a specific thing, and they had like quote unquote rules,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then the 70s directors come in and they're just like, fuck your rules.
Yeah,
And they're
and it's with a
like,
confidence
we're
of a
gonna
serial
take
killer, and like you're like, you don't you're like 20, you don't know anything, and they're like, I know
yeah.
that I know I don't want that.
Yeah, and they were like, "I'm gonna do The Godfather." The first 40 minutes are our wedding, which is also funny because Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter, it
Dear
takes like an
Hunter.
hour to get to the movie. It's like the same shit. They're at a wedding. They're at night. They're hanging out, and you're like, "What is this movie?" I can
Yeah.
imagine sitting in that theater and being like, "What is this?" But it's
Like
it's all
I saw the
genius,
poster. I don't know what
amazing.
this is. Yeah.
Yeah, genius, amazing work, you know. And it's like those dudes were like, the funny thing about all those movies in the 70s. I love movies in the 70s. My wife sometimes is like, "You wish you could live in the 70s." And I'm like, "No, no, no,
No.
no, no, not even a little bit. No, but do I like movies from the 70s? Very
Oh
much
yeah.
so."
Yeah.
And Hitchcock was like this too, where they would make these movies that basically were them telling you, "I'm taking my time. I don't care what you think."
Yeah.
And I think that's what Hickman does,
Yeah,
is
I think
I'm
you're right.
taking my time. I don't care what you think. But what's funny is that like you watched. I think we talked when I saw you last, but like the morning I flew to New York Comic Con, I had this moment on the drive to the airport where I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to watch Chinatown. If Chinatown is on this airplane, I'm gonna watch Chinatown. I got on the airplane. The airplane did have Chinatown, and I said, "Not gonna watch this on the airplane with people around me. This movie might be too much for some people.
Yeah.
Not gonna." So when I got to the hotel that night, I got there late enough where I'm like, I don't want to see anybody. I just traveled, as we discussed. Traveling sucks.
Yep.
I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna watch Chinatown in my hotel room by myself with Shake Shack. It'll be great. And as I'm watching it, and I've seen it a ton of times, it was one of those times where I paused it right at the right moment, and it was at the end of the movie, and I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Are you telling me all that stuff? 'Cause I saw the timestamp, and I was like, are you telling me all that shit happens in the last 5 minutes of the movie?
Right.
Like, it's so crazy. And he's just like, I'm taking my time, and then boom. And it's the same way with.
That's what I'm worried about with Ultimate Spider-Man.
Well, I think though it's like they get you real fast. It's like
Yeah.
take time, and then all of a sudden the stuff happens real fast. I mean, it's like Psycho is like that, where it's
Yep.
like the last 5 minutes are crazy.
Yeah.
North by Northwest is nuts because
Yeah.
it's like slow burn, keeps building, gets pretty crazy. They're about to fall off. They're about to fall,
Mount Rushmore. Yep.
and then boom, they're in this train,
Yeah.
like hook it up, and then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, and the movie's over.
The movie's over.
You know what is like that? Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, so all these. So this is what I'm saying. Hickman.
Yeah.
I feel like does the same. Like I'm taking my time. I don't care what you think. And so I'm curious about
That
these
last
things.
5
But
minutes. Yeah.
that book. I mean, he could probably. And what's fascinating about that book because what's interesting is that somebody was basically the time jumping. It's one.
Yeah.
It's a month in between each issue, right?
Yep.
Like he's doing real time on each issue. That means that at some point, this is crazy. I'm just guessing again. So he can skip it.
Yeah.
He can skip the bad thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
be like, it happened. And you're dealing with it, right? You could open up a book and be on page 1 and be like, what are you talking about? And we could completely have missed the really bad thing because a month has passed, and a month is a lot in comics, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really fascinating. It's really smart what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's like you look at the stuff he's doing, and it's just, real smart, real smart.
I know.
Well, we should end on that because I have to do more
Gotta end
videos.
on this. But
I gotta make comic books.
we gotta make comic books, baby. What's coming out this week / next week?
Where am I at here? Where am I at? Okay, so this is coming out tomorrow.
Yes.
Get this. This came out already. Get this. Issue 2 will be out
G.I. Joe.
about 2 weeks from now. This is also coming out. It collects the Absolute Power issues. It also has,
Which are fun, by the way. It's not just a tie-in volume. Like, there's a lot of a great story in there.
I tried to tell our own little story. You know, that's in there. Definitely check out some more all-in stuff. You know, check out Transformers and Void Rivals, also coming out on Universe. And then pre-order Aquaman for Jeremy and John Tim. You know, I'm excited for what they're doing. You should definitely check that out. But it's gonna be this year went by way too fast.
It did.
Before it disappeared on us. I'm a little frustrated with it. That like I remember, dude. This is how bad it is. I'm gonna tell you a little secret about myself. It is so bad. This year went by so fast that I never took down some of the Christmas lights in the front of my house. Most of them came down, but there was like one bush that I was. I'll get to it. We put it. I posted pictures of this on the internet, so I'm not like too much out. I've posted pictures of how crazy our house gets at Christmas. There was one bush that had lights in it, and I was like, that's always a pain in the butt to get the lights out. I'll do that next month. I guess I just left it.
Yep. So, and now it's good. You're good to go. You can just
plug it in on Thanksgiving and be like, Christmas time, let's do it. I got to put more stuff up, but that one I got to plug it in. But it's very too fast. So hope everyone has a good, if you're in the States, have a good Thanksgiving weekend. Buy comics on Wednesday. Also, one last thing. I just want to say one quick thing to everybody watching this. It's the end of the year. Obviously, buy comics as gifts for your friends. You know, but go Black Friday. A lot of stores have sales on Black Friday. Buy comics for your friends. But one thing I will ask you, because it's the end of the year, and you know, the end of the year is always like hard on people. If you have a pull list at your comic book store, please pick it up.
Yeah.
Again, like we're getting close to the end of the year. This is an important time for comic book stores.
They need that money.
They need that money. Please pick up your pulls. And, you know, again, before the end of the year, like give a Christmas gift to your store. Please pick up your pulls if you haven't already. So I'll leave on that one.
That's a good point. That's a good point, man.
Buy some comic books. I'm not, you know, it's been a bit. Sal and I'll probably do this again sometime around Christmas, probably.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Do a holiday episode.
Yeah, then we'll have to talk about more aliens. I'll watch Romulus. I'll watch it.
Yeah, yeah, check out Romulus. It's worth checking out. But we'll
I'll watch
talk more about aliens and stuff. Much to the chagrin of the audience. But
Yeah.
let us know.
Like,
Well, but thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and of course, thanks Josh for being here. See you guys next time.
always. Thank you so much.